The doll sat perfectly still on the rocking chair, its faded cloth face stitched into a perpetual smile. Its button eyes gleamed dully under the dim light of the bedside lamp, and its tiny hands rested innocently on its lap. For weeks, Donna and her roommate Angie had dismissed the strange occurrences in their apartment as tricks of the mind. A misplaced item here, a door creaking open on its own there. It was an old building, after all. But lately, the disturbances had grown specific. Donna swore she had left the doll on the living room couch that morning, yet here it was, back in her bedroom, seated neatly as if waiting for her. The chill that crept up her spine was undeniable. Then came the notes. Small scraps of parchment appeared in the apartment, scribbled in what looked like a child's uneven handwriting. "Help me. Miss me. Let me in." At first they laughed it off, some elaborate prank, maybe even the work of their friend Lou. But when they found the notes inside locked rooms, on furniture they hadn't touched, the laughter stopped. That night, as Donna reached out to move the doll back to the shelf, she hesitated. For the first time, she had the strangest feeling, as if the doll was watching her. And when she turned off the light, she could have sworn she heard a whisper. A whisper that didn't belong to either of them. Donna Jennings had never been the type to believe in ghosts. At 22, she was more focused on her nursing studies than on superstitions. She shared a small apartment in Hartford, Connecticut, with her best friend, Angie Matthews, another nursing student. Their home was simple but cozy, warm wooden floors, shelves lined with textbooks, and a mismatched collection of furniture they had thrifted together. It was the kind of place where they could sip coffee in the mornings, cram for exams late into the night, and enjoy the easy comfort of their shared space. But then there was the doll. It had been a gift, one that Donna had never thought twice about. Her mother, a collector of antiques, had found it in a second-hand shop and sent it to her for her birthday. "Something to keep you company," the note had read, written in her mother's delicate handwriting. The doll was a large Raggedy Ann, with soft red yarn hair and a faded dress. It wasn't the kind of thing Donna would have chosen for herself, but it was a thoughtful gift, so she had placed it on her bed and left it there. At first, the strange occurrences had been easy to ignore. Donna would come home to find the doll in a different position than she had left it, arms crossed instead of at its sides, head tilted slightly when she was sure it had been upright. It was subtle, the kind of thing that could be blamed on memory or an accidental nudge. But then, things began to escalate. The doll started appearing in different rooms. Donna would leave it in the bedroom, only to find it sitting on the couch when she got home from work. Once, she discovered it in the kitchen, its tiny fabric hands resting on the counter, as if it had been waiting for her. Angie had been the first to joke about it. "Maybe it's haunted," she teased, nudging Donna with an elbow. "You did say it just shows up places." "Or maybe you're just moving it and forgetting," Donna shot back, but even she wasn't convinced. The notes were what finally shook them. They started appearing out of nowhere, tiny scraps of parchment, yellowed and old, scribbled with messages in a child's uneven handwriting. The first one was simple. "Help me." Donna found it on the kitchen table one morning. She had stared at it for minutes, turning it over in her hands. The parchment was brittle, like it had been aged for years, yet neither she nor Angie had seen it before. Then there was another, left on the floor by the front door. "Miss me." And another, tucked beneath the doll's tiny stuffed hands. "Let me in." Angie stopped laughing about the doll after that. "Okay, this is seriously weird," she admitted, sitting cross-legged on the couch. "Who would even write these, and why on paper that looks 100 years old?" "Maybe Lou's messing with us," Donna said, though she didn't believe it. Lou, their close friend, had been around often, but he had never seen the prankster type. Still, they decided to ask him directly. When Lou arrived later that night, they confronted him. "This is not funny, Lou," Donna said, holding up one of the notes. Lou frowned, confusion flickering across his face. "What are you talking about?" "These." Donna placed all the notes on the table. "Are you messing with us? Because this isn't funny anymore." Lou picked one up, turning it over in his hands. "I swear to God, this wasn't me," he said firmly. He glanced at the doll sitting quietly in the corner of the room, its stitched smile wide and unblinking. "You should get rid of that thing." That night, they locked the doll in the closet. But by morning, it was back on Donna's bed. The morning light filtered through the blinds, casting long slats of gold across Donna's bed. She groggily stretched, rubbing the sleep from her eyes, then froze. The doll was there, sitting upright, right where it should not be. Angie, still half asleep in the next room, awoke to Donna's sharp intake of breath. "What's wrong?" she mumbled, pushing herself up on one elbow. Donna didn't answer right away. She couldn't. Her hands trembled as she slowly reached for the doll, lifting it like it might bite. "We locked this thing in the closet last night, right?" Her voice was tight, strained. Angie's sleep-fogged mind sharpened in an instant. She was on her feet in seconds, stumbling toward the closet door. She yanked it open. The space inside was small, barely large enough for their coats and extra shoes. The shelf where the doll had been stuffed was empty. She turned back, her face draining of color. The doll was still on Donna's bed. Neither of them spoke at first. The silence between them stretched, heavy and suffocating. Then, a knock at the door startled them both. Lou stood outside, hands shoved into his jacket pockets, his expression wary. "Hey, I was thinking about last night, and He stopped mid-sentence, his eyes landing on the doll. "Wait, why is that out?" Donna and Angie exchanged a look. "It wasn't," Donna said. Lou didn't speak for a moment. His jaw tightened as he stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. "Okay, this is seriously messed up," he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. "Have you guys looked into where it came from? Maybe your mom got it from somewhere bad?" Donna hadn't considered that before. To her, it had just been a birthday gift, a childhood relic, something harmless. But as she thought about it, a chill crept through her. Lou pulled out his phone and started typing. A few moments later, his face paled. "Oh man, you need to see this." He turned the screen toward them. It was an article. "The Cursed Doll of Connecticut, a paranormal case study." The picture beneath the headline showed an identical Raggedy Ann doll, its red yarn hair and stitched smile eerily familiar. The article described a case from the early 1970s. A young nursing student had received a similar doll, only for strange events to follow. Objects moved on their own. Notes appeared mysteriously. Shadows lurked in the corners of rooms. The doll, according to paranormal investigators, wasn't just haunted. It was a vessel, a conduit for something much worse. Donna's breath hitched. This can't be the same one," she whispered. "There must be dozens of these dolls out there." Lou scrolled further, his eyes widening. The case ended with an exorcism. They locked it away, Donna, and now it's in a museum in Monroe, Connecticut. He glanced up, his face grim. "If that one's locked up, what the hell is this one?" A heavy silence fell over the room. Then, a slow, deliberate creak echoed through the apartment. The three of them turned toward the sound. The closet door, The very one Angie had flung open minutes ago was now ajar. It had moved. On its own. Lou swore under his breath. That's it. We need to get rid of that thing. Angie nodded, already grabbing a trash bag. I don't care what it is, it's leaving this apartment. Donna hesitated. Something about this didn't feel right. Could they really just throw it away? But she didn't argue. She just watched as Angie shoved the doll into the bag, tying the top tightly. Come on, Lou said. We're taking it far from here. They left the apartment, piling into Lou's car. The air inside was tense, the silence broken only by the hum of the engine. Donna sat in the back, the bag resting at her feet. She could feel it there. Not just physically, something about its presence felt oppressive. They drove for miles, heading toward a secluded area outside town. When they reached an abandoned lot near the edge of a forest, Lou killed the engine. Here, he said, grabbing the bag. He tossed it onto the ground and doused it with lighter fluid. We burn it. Angie struck a match, her hand shaking slightly. She dropped it. Flames roared to life. The three of them stepped back, watching as the black bag melted, curling in on itself. The doll inside was engulfed, its red hair turning to ash. For the first time in weeks, Donna felt lighter. They returned home that night, exhausted but relieved. The nightmare was over. Or so they thought. Because when Donna woke up the next morning, the air in her bedroom was ice cold. The kind of cold that didn't belong in a heated apartment. She pulled the blanket tighter around herself, blinking groggily, then froze. Sitting on the dresser, completely untouched by fire, was the doll. Its button eyes gleamed dully in the dim morning light. And in its tiny fabric hands was a new note. Did you miss me? Donna's breath hitched in her throat. Her hands trembled as she reached for the note, but she couldn't bring herself to touch it. The words stared back at her, scribbled in that same childlike handwriting. Did you miss me? No. No, this wasn't possible. They had burned it. She had watched the flames consume it, had smelled the fabric singe, had seen the ashes scatter into the cold night air. But here it was, sitting exactly where it shouldn't be. A quiet knock sounded at her bedroom door, making her jump. Donna? Angie's voice was barely above a whisper. She turned, still shaken, and opened the door. Angie stood there, pale, her eyes rimmed with dark circles. She didn't speak at first, just lifted a trembling hand. A note rested between her fingers. I found this under my pillow. Donna snatched it, flipping it over. Why did you leave me? Her stomach dropped. Angie, she whispered, it's back. Angie swallowed hard, stepping inside and shutting the door behind her. We need to call someone, a priest, an exorcist, I don't know. Someone who deals with this stuff. Donna's hands clenched into fists. We should have done that from the start. They woke Lou, who had crashed on the couch after the long night. His reaction was immediate. No way I saw that thing burn. His voice was hoarse, but there was no room for denial in his eyes. If it came back, it's not just haunted, it's attached to something. To me, Donna whispered. The words felt heavy, like saying them out loud gave them power. Lou didn't answer right away. Instead, he grabbed his phone and started dialing. Who are you calling? Angie asked. Lou hesitated, then spoke carefully. There's a couple in Monroe. They run some kind of paranormal research center. I don't know them personally, but I've heard of them. He hit the call button. The phone rang once, twice, then, "Hello?" A woman's voice, calm and measured. Lou cleared his throat. Hi, my name's Lou, and I think we need help." 2 hours later, Donna, Angie, and Lou sat stiffly in their apartment, waiting. The doll hadn't moved since that morning. It sat on the dresser, its stitched smile wide, its fabric hands resting neatly in its lap. Then, a firm knock at the door. Donna practically leaped to answer it. Standing on the other side was an older couple, their expressions solemn. The man, dressed in a dark suit, carried a small wooden case. The woman, wearing a modest dress and coat, gave Donna a knowing look. "You must be Donna," she said. "I'm Lorraine. This is my husband, Ed. May we come in?" Donna nodded quickly, stepping aside. The couple entered, and as soon as Lorraine's gaze landed on the doll, she stopped. A deep frown creased her brow. "You need to understand," she said softly. "This isn't a doll, not anymore." Donna's throat was dry. "Then what is it?" Lorraine's eyes flickered with something unreadable. A vessel, a conduit for something inhuman. Angie let out a shaky breath. "So, it's possessed?" Ed shook his head. "Possessed would mean a spirit has attached itself inside the doll. But this is worse. It's being manipulated by something that was never human to begin with." A silence settled over the room. Then Lorraine turned to Donna. "Has it spoken to you?" Donna hesitated. "Not directly, but the notes, they keep appearing." Lorraine nodded as if she had expected this. "That's how it latches on. It doesn't want to be abandoned. It wants your trust, and when it has it..." She trailed off, her expression dark. Ed opened the wooden case, revealing a small vial of holy water, a crucifix, and a series of worn leather-bound books. "We need to seal it away," he said firmly, "before it grows stronger." Donna's stomach twisted. "And if we don't?" Lorraine's eyes met hers. "Then it won't stop until it takes what it wants." A chill ran down Donna's spine. "Which is?" Lorraine's voice was barely above a whisper. "You." Donna felt the room shrink around her, the weight of Lorraine's words pressing against her chest. It wanted her. Her hands clenched into fists, her pulse hammering in her ears. She had never believed in demons, hauntings, or possessions. But this was something she couldn't deny. "What do we do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ed was already moving, setting the wooden case on the table. "We'll need to perform a blessing, seal the doll inside a protective case. But first, we need to break its connection to you." Lorraine stepped closer, her eyes full of quiet concern. "That means you have to reject it, completely, no fear, no acknowledgement. It thrives on emotional ties. The more you give it, the stronger it gets." Donna swallowed hard, glancing at the doll. It hadn't moved, but something about it felt watchful. Lou and Angie stood close by, their presence grounding her. She took a slow breath and squared her shoulders. "I don't want you," she said firmly. The air in the apartment seemed to shift, growing heavier. The temperature dropped a few degrees, enough that a faint mist curled from Donna's lips as she spoke again. "You are nothing to me." The light flickered. A low, almost imperceptible creak echoed from the walls. But Donna didn't waver. "You have no power here." Then, silence. The room felt still again. Lighter. The heaviness pressing on her chest eased. Lorraine nodded approvingly, then turned to Ed. We need to finish this. Ed took the crucifix and began the prayer, sprinkling holy water in the corners of the room. Lorraine placed her hands on Donna's, a gentle but firm reassurance. As the Latin words filled the space, Donna felt a strange sensation, a weight lifting, something peeling away from her like unseen fingers releasing their grip. Then it was over. Ed carefully lifted the doll and placed it inside a thick wooden box lined with symbols Donna didn't recognize. He latched it shut, securing it with a heavy chain. "It won't be able to escape this," he said. "We'll take it with us and store it somewhere safe." Donna let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. The apartment still felt eerie, but it was different now. Lighter, as if something had been drained from it. "Is it really over?" Angie asked hesitantly. Lorraine gave a small smile. "For you, yes." For the first time in weeks, Donna felt like she could breathe again. She glanced at Angie and Lou, relief evident in their faces. The nightmare was over. At least, for them. Because as Ed carried the locked box out of the apartment, Lorraine lingered for just a moment. Her gaze flickered toward the shadows in the corner of the room, just for an instant. Then she turned back, her voice soft. "Some things," she murmured, "never truly go away." And with that, they left, taking the doll and whatever lived inside it with them. Weeks passed, and life slowly returned to normal. Donna slept better, the apartment felt warmer, and the eerie feeling that had once lingered in every shadow was gone. But sometimes, in the dead of night, she would wake with a start, feeling as if something was watching her. One evening, as she settled into bed, her phone buzzed with a notification. A new message. Her breath caught in her throat as she opened it. There was no sender. No number. Just a single line of text. "Did you miss me?" The apartment lights flickered. And somewhere, in the distance, soft, childish laughter echoed through the walls.